Emilio Estevez, Kiefer Sutherland, Lou Diamond Phillips, Christian Slater, Balthazar Getty, Alan Ruck, James Coburn, and William Peterson as Pat Garrett. Young Guns 2.
I'll make you famous.
Rated PG-13. Starts Wednesday, August 1st at theaters everywhere.
All right, you remember how in the song Wanted Dead or Alive, Jon Bon Jovi sang, "I'm a Cowboy"? Well, now Jon has taken that one step further. During the current hiatus from his band, he recently took time to make his acting debut, playing a cowboy who gets killed during a jailbreak in the upcoming film Young Guns 2. Well, now Jon is recording a 9-song soundtrack album for the film with some all-star help. As you can see in this exclusive footage, Elton John is duetting with Jon Bon on one track, plus Little Richard lends a hand, as does Tom Petty's keyboardist Ben Montench, John Cougar Mellencamp's drummer Kenny Aronoff, and guitar great Jeff Beck. As you're about to see, plays licks so effortlessly that even Jon seems to forget himself for a moment.
How did this come about for you?
Emilio Estevez, who's the star of the movie, informed me that they were doing Young Guns 2.
I met him here at my house. We were introduced by Ali Sheedy.
Yes, I was a fan of the first one, so much so that when Emilio asked me, do you have any plans to get into the movies? I said, no, but if you were doing Young Guns again, I would have, that would have been something I would have been happy to have been a part of. And he goes, well, it just happens we're doing part 2. And
I said, well, when we're shooting this, you've got to come down and play one of the bad guys and get killed or something like that.
So, when the opportunity arose, I jumped at it.
He has a scene where he comes out of this pit, where he's crawling out of this pit.
I grab the deputy, we throw him into the jail. And when I grab the deputy's gun, I go to shoot the sheriff.
The other deputy's there, turns a shotgun on him, just blows him away.
Don't go for popcorn in the first 20 minutes because I'm dead already. Why don't you get in the movie? You and the writer of the movie could do this little scene together and get killed. And I thought, why not? If I'm going to do all the music here, I might as well jump in. So it takes longer to describe than it is to happen, As I lie there dead on the ground, all the actors are going, shot through the heart. And then they go, Jon is dead, Jon is dead, They had a good laugh at my expense. And throughout my music career, I'd always said, well, I don't really want to be an actor, but had I had the opportunity to have been in Young Guns 1, Young Guns, I would have taken it, knowing all along the movie was long done, it had been on the screen. And he says, well, it's your lucky day, we're doing number 2. And I went, oh, I liked 1 so much that I felt that I musically could offer them something. And they were going to use a song called Wanted Dead or Alive, which was on our 3rd album. I thought that I could write them something and lyrically it would fit their movie, and there's where Blaze of Glory was introduced.
Were there any restrictions, or you could just do what you wanted, Jon?
Well, yeah, it's just like with my record company. The movie company was very, very kind as to what they wanted from me. They trusted my instincts.
Do you want to tell Australia what your new single's called?
Well, this is from a movie called Young Guns 2, which stars Emilio Estevez and Kiefer Sutherland and Lou Diamond Phillips. It's called Blaze of Glory. And though it is solo, it's not the solo album. Remember that this is a soundtrack, okay? So this is called Blaze of Glory. I hope you like it.
It was Blaze of Glory. Look, how did it all come together that you were doing the soundtrack for Young Guns 2?
Well, the writer of the movie and the star, Emilio, both told me that they wrote the movie by listening to Wanted Dead or Alive, and that they were going to, in fact, use Wanted Dead or Alive in the movie. And I was really flattered by the whole thing, but the lyrical content to me didn't fit. So it gave me the opportunity to write them something different that would fit their movie in this slot, in this fashion. So I sat down to write Blaze of Glory and went to the movie set with it in hand. And 1 song led me to 4, which led to 8, which led to my committing to do an album for them. And then I wrote 2 more after seeing the movie. So there's the complete 10-song soundtrack for the movie.
It must be a great thing to be given the chance to do a Western like that. Like
yeah, it was.
The good, the bad, the ugly sort of music. It's just always fantastic.
It was neat.
oohs.
Yeah.
So I think that we need to do something a little slower.
Okay.
They'll just be going ooh.
Okay.
Like that. So if you're playing around that kind of thinking gospel-y, I think that'd be too fast.
Okay, you're right.
You can hit me anytime you want. I'm not supposed to tell Jeff Beck what the playing guitar.
All along I knew that I was going to do it with different guys, if for nothing else, for a lot of fun. When the choice for guitar players came up, Jeff was my #1 choice. When Jeff came in, all I wanted to do was please him. If he wanted pizza, I was going to the pizza shop to get it for him. So ideally, I thought Jeff Beck would be the guy to play the solos on this record, and I called him, and he said yes so quickly that I almost thought that there's no way. It means he's going to tell his manager no, he's going to tell my manager no, he's going to tell me no way, you know? Yeah, I called him up, and he called me right back, and I said, I'm going to do this album for a soundtrack. I'm doing it in Los Angeles. I know you're in Europe. Could you come over and play on it? He says, yeah, I'd love to. Really like to. It sounds like a great idea. It'd be a lot of fun. I got to go by. And I hung up the phone going, sure you will. And he was in the studio even before I got there that first day that we needed him. He was great.
We're gonna have the girls singing over this.
Yeah?
And they'll just be doing oohs.
Yeah.
So I think that we need to do something a little slower.
Okay.
They'll just be going ooh.
Okay.
Like that. So if you're playing around that kind of thinking gospel-y, I think that'd be too fast.
Okay, you're right.
You can hit me anytime you want. I'm not supposed to tell Jeff Beck what to playing guitar.
I'm definitely the kid in the candy store, and he got his hands right in the jar. I mean, it's amazing when you sit there with a legend, a guitar legend like Jeff Beck. You watch him play. I mean, it's better than a front row seat. Elton happened to be in Los Angeles. I was fortunate enough that Elton was working on a compilation album of his own, and he was going to use the same drummer, Kenny Aronoff. And I figured, well, Elton can't be working if I'm using Kenny, so while he's sitting around, let's get him in here. And that was the deal almost. It was like, and Elton said, yeah, he'd do it. He was a great guy. And he's played with Bon Jovi before, and I've jammed with him before at his shows. And so it was like calling up somebody that you know, and say, hey, come on down. And anyone who would poke their head in the studio, I'd drag them in. You know, that was the rules. Elton John, same way. Elton happened to be in Los Angeles at the time. I was real fortunate to get him.
Thank you. Thank you.
Elton comes in, sings on a song, plays on 2, and then comes up to me afterwards. He says, Bernie Taupin would love this song. And you just go, wow, this is Elton John. You know, I mean, the guy's a legend.
Looking back at Young Guns, were you surprised? I mean, you ended up turning out to be a household name out of that. All over the place, your name was everywhere. Surprised how that turned out?
I don't know. You know, people have been asking me that lately. I think, I don't know how surprised I was. I'm pleased. But I thought that it was good, or I wouldn't have put it out. You know, I was pleased with the acceptance that it's received. But as far as, you know, surprised, I really wasn't, because I wouldn't have put it out. I would have just said this isn't good enough. You know, it doesn't represent me or this movie. But I am real pleased that the folks liked it.
I don't want to consider this a solo album because the parameters of the writing are too limited. You know, I mean, it was specifically written for a movie. It's a soundtrack. Well, I think it's pretty different. You know, I mean, one, the lyrical content is limited to that of a movie. So I'm writing about different characters instead of people that are either me or people I know. Production-wise, I got behind the helm this time instead of it being Bruce Fairbairn for the last 2 or Lance Quinn for the first 2. And then some of the musical tastes of Beck or an Elton or Little Richard or whomever are going to be drastically different than my band would do. And I was able to bring in an orchestra for a tune if I wanted, you know, I mean, different things, girl background singers, just things that I wouldn't typically do. This isn't a solo album. Never was meant to be a solo album.
It was just the idea that this was going to be the soundtrack for the movie. And this is snowballed because it was one song turned into 4, turned into 8, turned into 10. And then I'm
He had 2 ideas. One was a drive-in and one was this butte. And it was pretty hard to decide, so he built the drive-in on the butte.
In film mythology, I've always heard about this place. So we came out here, cruised around in a helicopter, landed on about 5 of them, and this was the right one. Everything's difficult. You have to bring everything up by helicopter. It's gonna be about 100.
August 1st.
And what about a music video? Will we have that?
Oh, the music video is all over your MTV right now. It's been the #1 most requested video since it's come out, and as with the single, it's just gone through the roof. It's been great.
You know, I've always liked the old westerns, and this is where Stagecoach was shot, John Wayne. I mean, they've shot like 50 westerns here. And I used to go to drive-ins, and all the old westerns and everything were great. That's where we saw them. So the combination of the two is just...
And I wrote Blaze of Glory, came home and watched again the Peck and Paul version of Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, really for inspiration because I had the script of Young Guns, and it was historically as correct as they could be. So I said, well, let's watch this version and be influenced by it. And with that in mind, wrote 3 more songs. They liked them. They said, let's release an album. And all I could think was that Polygram would release an album of 4 of my songs and 6 bands that I had no control over, or nothing that I had anything to do with. Geez, I don't want to endorse something that I don't have control over. So I went into the new president of Polygram and I asked if it would be okay if I did this soundtrack. And he said, sure, you got the material? And I went, yeah, of course. I had 4 songs. You know, I walked out and scribbled the whole way home. Wrote the next 4, sent them out, got the approval, went out to LA.